People are waiting outside my workplace. I don't know what they're waiting for. It's 12:30. Took her 15-minute lunch break 30 minutes ago, and I've been straightening the panty drawers ever since, and pretending like the man who's been sitting on the bench since 9:30 isn't creeping me out. I saw our favorite security guy rolling by on his little security scooter and called him over. He made a sharp left into the store, knocking over a half-naked Victoria's Secret mannequin in the process. I just wanted to tell you that the guy on the bench is really creeping us out. He's been sitting there since before we opened the store. Glanced over his shoulder, then turned back to me. That's Mr. His wife and daughter were here. I mean, they will be being... Sorry, one sec. He cleared his throat. He is here for his wife and daughter. There it is. Damn. Have you talked to him? I asked. Yeah, I've talked to him. Not today, not yet. Last year. You talked to the man one time last year and you remember his name. What kind of David Blaine shit is that? Chuckled, and for a minute things didn't feel so off. That's the power of a chuckle. David Blaine shit, you're funny. But yeah, no. Mr. comes every year. Every year. Every year for his wife and daughter, said, answering my question before I even asked. What's up with all the questions today, Nancy Drew? He boarded his scooter. Maybe you should take a break, get some fresh air. He wheeled away, stopping briefly to greet the man on the bench, Mr. He smiled warmly in return, offering a single nod, keeping his hands clasped firmly in his lap as they've been all day. I think I need to eat. I was wiping down the store mirrors a few minutes ago when I heard a sweet little voice say, "Can you please help my mommy?" It was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. I hadn't noticed her or her mommy come in, even though I'd been near the front of the store for a good 15 minutes. Of course I can't. Where's your mommy? She took my hand and led me to the row of 3 fitting rooms at the back of the store, then pointed at the center one. I knocked twice, then twisted the key in the knob and gently pushed open the door. She was crumpled on the ground, her legs contorted in angles that shouldn't exist. The curve of her neck resting on the edge of the built-in fitting room bench, propping up her twisted, broken body in the most unnatural, unnerving way. Her mouth was open. Her eyes were open. And oh, God, her skull was open. I could see its reflection in the blood-spattered mirror, her brain matter slowly leaking from where the back of her head used to be. It was then that I realized the little girl was somehow no longer behind me, but cowering beneath the built-in chair, hiding behind what was left of her mother. She was wide-eyed and terrified, her long, hay hair dangling in front of her face, the ends of her strands stained red with blood. She held her index finger to her lips, her eyes pleading for me to keep quiet. The room glitched, as if someone was adjusting my brain's antennas to find a different channel. I closed my eyes as tightly as humanly possible and tried to picture my mom, my safe place. But all I could see was static, so much static. Through the white noise, I could hear a faint popping sound. 1 pop, 2 pop, 3 pop, 4 pop, growing louder every time. After the 5th pop, the white noise came to an abrupt stop. I opened my eyes and found myself back at the mirror and microfiber towel in hand. I bolted to the fitting room area. It was empty. Empty of life, empty of death, empty of brain matter and pooling blood. All was well. I walked back to the front of the store to see if Benchman was a figment of imagination as well. He was there just like he'd been all day. I'm sitting at the cash wrap counter typing this, and in this moment his presence is oddly comforting. He is perhaps the only constant I have today, now that seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth. Oh, of course. Speak of the little angel and she will appear, that wasn't. She looked like if we're older. Not wildly older, just old enough to notice. Like 20 years from now, after a failed marriage and some sort of major trauma. That's how I know this woman is. She doesn't have the glow carries with her everywhere. I sound so stupid, I know, but has this innate inner brightness I both envy and feel immensely grateful for. That woman looks like someone shrunk themselves down, crawled through an older ear canal, and snuffed out the light in each of her eyeballs. Which is impossible, of course. I just wish I could figure out how she knows my name. She made a beeline for me when she entered the store, and I rounded the counter to meet her halfway, ready to tell her about whatever the hell had just happened to me. But as we neared one another, I realized it wasn't after all. I tried to play it off. "Welcome in, can I help you?" She didn't respond, only smiled. Are you looking for something special, or I fell asleep? What? I took a nap on my lunch break. I slept through the alarms. I'm there now. Before I could ask a follow-up question, an announcement began to play over the mall's intercom. Announcements aren't uncommon, but this one was new. I don't know if I can remember it all, but it went something like, Threnody Robotics welcomes you to the Lake Plaza Mall and Memorial Museum. The annual Lake Plaza Memorial Experience will commence shortly. Please do not be frightened. The experience cannot harm you. Human beings are perfectly safe to observe the experience. The announcement ended. You can tell because they play a little ding-dong-dong at the end of every announcement. They play a dong-ding-ding at the beginning. The woman, the one who isn't now had tears welling in her eyes. You don't deserve to be here alone, Jenna. My name. How does this woman know my name? She reached out and held my face in her hand. I felt the cool metal of her wedding set against my cheek. Isn't married. Over the intercom, another announcement. We kindly ask that visitors make their way to the designated viewing location that has been assigned to them. With that, Knot straightened her shoulders and quickly wiped away the tear rolling down her cheek like someone putting on a brave face for a sick child. She gave my hand a squeeze, then made her way outside of the store, taking a seat next to the man on the bench. The crowd size has tripled since we opened. You'd think we could make at least one sale. Holy shit, they're real. The mother and daughter from my whatever that was earlier. Panic attack. Starvation-induced hallucination. Whatever you want to call it. I guess I must have seen them before. It's not like I can just make people up. Right, brains can't do that. They've probably shopped here before. Hell, they were probably here yesterday. But that's not the point. The point is that I happened to look up from the computer as they were walking past the bench outside, where Benchman and Knot are seated. And as they did, Benchman UNCLASBED his hands, a first for him today, and his face lit up like a crazy bright neon open sign. They're who he's been waiting for, his wife, his daughter. He stood up, extending his arms as if to say, there you are, I've missed you. Only, they didn't return his enthusiasm. The mom smiled politely and gently ushered her daughter away from Benchman's reach, but he's still smiling. A moment ago, he pointed at them and leaned over to say something to Knot. She laughed, then patted his hand. I could make out the shape of her mouth as she wrapped her fingers around his palm. They love you. The woman finally found a pair of long pajamas and asked me to open up a fitting room for her just now. While I was doing it, I motioned toward the bench outside and said, "Is that your husband?" "Oh, goodness no, my husband is out of town on business." She laughed. "That's so funny though. They just played another announcement." At Threnody Robotics, we believe an intimate knowledge of history is the key to avoid having history repeat itself. By allowing the public be a part of this immersive experience and giving people a front row seat to the fear and carnage of that day, we hope to ensure that humanity never forgets what happened at Lake Plaza Mall nearly 20 years ago today. I walked over to the fitting room and lightly knocked on the door. "Sorry, but do you know anything about the experience?" "The what now?" "The experience. I don't know, they just had an announcement about it. They've actually had a few announcements about it today." "I haven't heard any announcement," she replied. "Have you heard any announcements?" From the intercom, "Please stay calm and do not interact with non-visitors, as doing so could cause a glitch in the experience." I asked if she heard that one. She said no. I can see my mom beside the woman who isn't. She's crying. I just asked the woman if her daughter was still in the fitting room with her. She said yes. But why can I see her crouched under the register, telling me to keep quiet? Why can I feel every shaky breath on my ankles? Why does she look so scared? Announcement. The 19th annual Lake Plaza Memorial Experience is starting now.